Good morning. This webinar is being presented on emergency permits. With me today, we have Kathleen Sempt, who is the lead specialist for emergency permits with the Division of Certification Services. We have Phil Ferrari, who is a supervisor in the Division of Certification Services, and myself, Renee Lenker, who is also a supervisor in the Division of Certification Services. Today's webinar is going to last about 30 to 40 minutes long, and it's specifically on emergency permits. PDE has updated our website resources. You will see some website changes and updates. You'll find some user guides for applicants and LEAs. And also, we are going to be storing this recorded webinar on our website for future use. If you can bear with me right now, I'm going to bring up a website so you can see exactly where the changes have occurred. This is the PDE website, which has changed some time ago. The homepage has changed. What I want to bring to your attention are our new division pages, which we have completely changed to be more user-friendly and to be helpful to educators as well as the LEAs. The first page when you go under certification has been changed to these blue boxes, which are quick links, which are give just a few words of a quick link, and they can take the educator right into the information they need. We have included a quick link to what we are simplified to staffing guidelines, which are the CSPGs. You can also go to the regular links over here, but for individuals who are not familiar with PDE's acronyms, these titles and subject areas might be a little bit easier for them to choose and handle. When they go under current PA educators, I'll show you that page. These are pages for individuals that are already educators in Pennsylvania for further assistance for Act 48, instructional add-ons, emergency permits, changing their name, level 1 to level 2. There's just a wealth of information here for them to click on and find as a self-help. You'll also see at the bottom of this page, there is a link if anybody needs additional services or questions. They can click on that. It'll give them some quick links as well to specific information. If they don't find the information on our website that is useful to them, they can also always submit a, they can contact us by calling us, but they can also submit an email for more detailed help. What we're really proud of over here is our complete revamping of the TIMS system. If you click on Help with TIMS, we have added a wealth of information in here for the applicant, user guides on submitting an application, submitting an emergency permit requests, but also we have added a user guide for you as the LEA, an emergency permit user guide. Now, we do have another guide that we're going to be working on probably this fall for work affirmations, but right now we have to focus on processing applications through our busy season. This is probably where I'm proposing that this webinar be housed, right here in this section, so everything is together. Our web office will be housing this hopefully very shortly, that it can be printed out or listened to directly from this link on the website. So now we're going back to our webinar on emergency permits. We have 3 CSPGs dealing with an emergency permits. The first one is CSPG 13, which was revised in February, so hopefully you've all had a chance to look at that. CSPG number 14, which has not been changed on Act 97 waivers, and our brand new CSPG number 25 for vocational emergency permits. This is a brand new a emergency permit dealing specifically with vocational. There was so much information embedded for vocational in CSPG 13 that they felt it was just a lot simpler to break it out into its own, and shortened up each of these to be specific for regular emergency permits and then vocational. Emergency permits are issued to the requesting school entity. They are issued to you as the LEA to use an individual in a certain situation with your district. This permit is not issued to the candidate. Even though it has the candidate's name on it, it is not issued to the candidate to take and pass around to a private agency or to other school districts. The emergency permit that you request is specific to you. It is not transferable between school entities. Same as if someone comes and wants to day-to-day sub for you and they already have an 06 permit for another district. That 06 permit is the other district's. You must request your own. They are district specific. The application is a three-step process. The first step is the applicant submits the permit request through TIMS to the employing school entity. This is not an application yet. It is just a request to the district to use them on an emergency permit situation. The next step is the school entity selects the type of payment and the subject areas being requested. The entity selects the date, the year that they want the permit to be issued for, the method of payment. It depends on this situation whether who is paying for this permit. Some districts require that the applicant pays for the permit. In that case, the district needs to choose money order as the method of payment, and then the applicant must submit that money order along with their other documents after the application is submitted. After all the information is filled in, the LEA or the school entity actually submits the application in TIMS. At that point is when it has become an application, and PDE staff can now view it as a submitted application and process it from our end, from our dashboard. After the application is submitted, either the school or the applicant must submit the required documents to PDE along with the TIMS application cover sheet. Documentation that needs to be submitted to PDE. There's instances where a professional license, a copy of a professional license must be submitted to PDE. In instances of applying for an emergency permit for a school nurse, dental hygienist, or there's very many vocational subject areas that require a professional license. These are all designated in CSPG number 25. Official transcripts also need to be submitted in many cases to PDE. They can be submitted directly to this RA account by the college, or they can be sent to the individual hard copy, and then the individual will forward the unopened transcript to PDE along with the application cover sheet. All initial permits require transcripts except school nurse, dental hygienists, and PA certified educators. There are certain vocational subject areas that require transcripts. This is spelled out in CSPG number 25. And every long-term substitute with education obligation, which is a typo 1, requires reissuances, require having an emergent, require a transcript. If someone is a non-US citizen or foreign educated, we need a copy of their permanent resident visa card, or in other words, common language is a green card, the signed declaration of intent, and either an original or notarized photocopy of their foreign evaluation report, signifying that they have the equivalency of a US bachelor's degree. Again, CSPG number 5 will list all of those details. Emergency permits in TIMS. This is a view of the educator's dashboard. Every role in TIMS has a different dashboard. They're similar, but they all have slightly different cues on them. This is the educators, where you can see they click on the button, Emergency Permit Application, from their dashboard. Next, it's going to ask them to supply their demographic details, their certification details, and their affiliation details. If this is a first request for your school district, they must add your district under the Add New Affiliation section of their application. If this is not the first time, they would continue past that page to the LEA selection, and they would put a check mark by your school as they would have added you in previously, and they would just put a check mark by your school under LEA selection. And also the background questions, the good moral character questions that need to be answered on every application. These are the background questions that an applicant must answer. If they must answer yes to any of these questions, there will be detailed information on the requirements and documents they need to answer or submit to PDE for review. They also will see an affidavit, which will be, they'll have to indicate a check mark that they've read if they understand that if a Typo 1 or Act 97 waiver is requested, that they will be enrolling in a state-approved program and completing credits every year. After they have completed this page, they will then click on the button, Initiate Permit Request. At that point, the application will now be submitted electronically to the LEA. The LEA has the option of reissuing permits from a prior year for Typo 6. They have the option of search and print permits. And if you're choosing to reissue Typo 6 permits from a previous year, the individual must complete the paper 33AG form you find on our website, which has been modified for emergency permits. It will only include the good moral character background questions. These questions must be answered every year. And if you reissue someone's permit from the year before without them actually going in and putting the request in through TIMS, then they must fill out the paper P form, which is basically just asking them to answer the background questions. If they answer yes to any of those background questions when they hand you that paper back in, the application must come through PDE electronically. In other words, they must put that request in from their end, answer the background questions in the system, and go through that clearance. This is the LEA's view of their TIMS dashboard. The certifying officer and chief school administrator's dashboard will look the same. It's just that some sections are visible under each of these roles, some are grayed out. So if you are with a small school district, you may be both serve the same role of certifying officer and chief school administrator. You would have to log in and log out as the certifying officer and chief school administrator, but you will know that there will be different things that will be grayed out under different circumstances. But most of you are probably at a large enough school district that that it is two different individuals, and that these will go through two different individuals with two different roles. There's also a search permit request in TIMS on the dashboard. You can search for someone by their PPID number, pull up their information or their permit request. This is the page that you will see, which you will fill out indicating all the permit information. You'll choose the year. You will choose the credential type, whether it's a Typo 1, Typo 4, Typo 6, or Act 97 waiver, and the subject area. You can choose more than one subject area per permit. Typo 4 requests. These were some changes that we've made to CSPG number 13. The first change is that a Typo 4 request can be requested for an LEA that is not anticipating future employment for the position. It would be examples of temporary coverage, whether it's someone you're filling in for a sabbatical or a medical leave, such as a maternity, coverage while you're recruiting if the position opens quickly and you have to put someone in there till you can recruit, or coverage for a position that was going to be eliminated at the end of the year. Perhaps you're only offering Chinese for 1 year and you're going to be eliminating that position at the end of the year. You could hire somebody on a typo 4 because it's not anticipated that that position is going to be offered in the following school year. A typo 4 can be issued twice, 2 times, for the same subject area. Typo 1 requests are for a position when the LEA does anticipate future employment for the position. For example, if it's a new position that the district has opened up a brand new position that's never been filled before, or due to a resignation or a retirement situation, or termination or death, something where something has occurred, but you are going to keep that position with the district. You're going to continue that position with the district. This is where the biggest change has occurred for a type 01 reissuance under CSPG number 13. We've heard a lot of complaints and requests that first year, until an individual can get accepted into a state approved program, which does take time, they don't have the remaining time to take the 9 required credits. So we have changed this, we've made it a tier system now. For this first year only, if the initial permit was issued between August 1st and November 30th, they have to complete 6 program credits. If the first issuance was between December 1st and March 31st, they must take 3 program credits. And if the first issuance was between April 1st and July 31st, they must submit proof of program enrollment with that first reissuance. For the second reissuance and all subsequent reissuances, they are required to complete 9 program credits. A typo 1 does not have a limit on the number of reissuances. It's as long as they're in their program completing the 9 credits, the typo 1 can be reissued until the program is completed. If you have an individual who has completed their program and may be struggling with the tests, a permit may be reissued 1 additional time after the program is completed for testing purposes if the tests have been attempted in the previous year. We must have evidence that the tests in TIMS were attempted in the previous year. The LEA must alert PDE that the permit is being requested based on testing, because there's no indicator in TIMS where you can just check that off. So either with an email or submitting something in writing, you must let us know when a permit is being requested based on that 1 test year. Education obligation. It is the school district's responsibility to discuss the education obligation with the position candidate. Even though they check that off, they are not familiar with what they are responsible for on a typo 1. You can also refer the position candidate to CSPG 13 for complete information, but the district does need to make clear to the candidate what their responsibilities are. A typo 6 substitute audit. These are randomly requested through TIMS. What it means is, for all those typo 6 uploads, for every 100 or 150 uploads, the system will automatically flag an application for an audit. We do have people upset. They'll say, well, I had a typo 6 for 6 years and now I have to submit my documentation to PDE. It's just that they were selected that year as a random audit. It does not mean that they did anything wrong or that they're being flagged for something that's, that we're questioning, or that we're looking at their a particular situation. It's just that they have been the application that's been chosen to submit all their documents to PDE, which would be their bachelor's degree transcript. There are audits that are done routinely for those individuals with good moral character issues, or if they are not U.S. citizens, those applications are audited every year. What I'm referring to here is the system-generated random audit that occurs. Guest teacher permits, if you are contracting with a guest teacher provider like the intermediate, your local intermediate unit, day-to-day substitute permits may be requested by the LEA responsible for the guest teacher program because the IU is a public school entity. They can request emergency permits. This does not apply to long-term substitutes. If you need a long-term substitute, it is your responsibility to get the emergency permit for that individual. Private providers, if you're contracting with a private provider such as Kelly Services or Source for Teachers, they cannot request emergency permits because they are not public school entities according to what the law requires. You as the LEA is responsible for the substitutes that are walking through your door or working with your students. You need to check to make sure that each individual that is being sent has an active or valid certificate, and if they do not, then you have to request the emergency permit. They cannot be sent out to you without having a valid Pennsylvania certificate or that you have requested an emergency permit. We are hearing reports where individuals are having one district obtain an '06 permit for them. They're taking that permit to a private provider. The private provider is using that permit that has been issued to one district to send them out to multiple districts. We're also hearing instances where individuals are being sent out without anything, without any '06 by a school district or a Pennsylvania certificate. You as the LEA will be audited. The private providers will not go through any audits by PDE. Therefore, it is your responsibility to make sure that everyone that is coming through your door that is submitted or that is provided to you has the proper documentation to be in your school as a day-to-day substitute. A locally issued day-to-day substitute, there is a lot of confusion surrounding locally issued. School districts feel that, there should be a certificate issued or that they still have to submit documentation to PDE. This is not an actual certificate per se that is issued. It is just something that is all kept at the district level. All the files are kept at the district level. That's why it's called locally issued. Everything is kept there. Nothing is sent to PDE in these circumstances. And CSPG 13 is very clear under each of these categories exactly what the requirements are. There's 3 different categories. One could be active PA certificate or comparable out-of-state certificate. The teacher preparation program completers, that's this time of year where educators have graduated but still don't have their PA certificate. Under Act 36, along with a letter from their program provider, you can hire them as day-to-day substitutes until the end of the school year. And also prospective teacher substitutes, which is relatively new. The district can hire an individual that is currently completing a teacher cert program for 20 days throughout the school year. Again, all of this information is clearly defined in the CSPG. Expedites. PDE asks that the schools do not exercise their privilege to expedite emergency permit applications. Emergency permit applications are already given priority over every other application type. And what that means, when evaluators and specialists start their work for the day, the emergency permits are always at the top of the workload over every other application type. And all schools' permit requests are based on an emergency need, and therefore we ask that they are taken by date received in order to be fair to all. Correcting educator mistakes. This is on your dashboard. You have the ability to deny any application requests from your dashboard without any penalty to the educator that has made that request. You might have an instance where an educator has submitted 4 or 5 emergency permit requests to you because they're not sure it went through, so they just keep requesting over and over and over. You can just choose one, follow through and process that permit request, and deny the remainder. This will not have any reflection on the educator at all. Or maybe you open it up and you don't know the educator that has made the request. You can just deny it. Again, at that point, it is not an application to PDE for an emergency permit. This is just the request to the district to be hired as a substitute. If you deny them at this point, there is no reflection or anything indicated at the PDE level. Emergency permit tips. You can request emergency permits for the current school year at any time. This is something that you can request whenever you feel the need throughout the district, whenever you have, or throughout the year. You need to carefully check the year to make sure you're choosing the correct year when you submit a request. We ask, and this is something not new this year, we always ask that the permit applications for the next school year or that the upcoming school year do not be submitted until July the 1st. Anytime after July the 1st, we will accept and process applications for the next school year. Up until then, they get mixed in with the current school year's applications. So if we receive any of them, we're just going to filter them out and not process them until after July the 1st. So please do not submit those until July the 1st. You may also enter multiple subjects on a long-term permit request. Typo 4, you can have multiple. Typo 1, you can have multiple, but keep in mind that with a typo 1 request, for every area that you ask, the individual must enter into a certification program. So you only want to ask specifically for the positions that they're going to be long-term filling with your school. The difference there is also that if you apply for a typo 1 for special education, if the educator does not hold the prerequisite certificate, you must request the emergency permit for the prerequisite as well as the special ed subject area. An individual cannot enter into just a special ed program. They must be in a dual program if they don't have the prerequisite, so that has to be part of the request for a type 01 permit. And that concludes our webinar. We do have a lot of frequently asked questions also on our website. If you or the educator needs to contact us for any reason, we do have contact information on there where you can call us, or you can send us an email, or you can chat with staff. This is for the district purposes only, that if you are going to call us, the districts have the option of choosing option 9, which will take you directly in as the next available evaluator or specialist comes available for answer. This is for the district level only. Educators or outside individuals are not should not have access to that line. So if you have any other questions, feel free to contact us, and that ends our webinar today. Thank you.